Right guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. In this one I'm just going to be showing you how to fit your Campagnolo Chorus 12 speed rear derailleur to your bike. So let's go ahead, let's run through the steps. So we have the Chorus 12 speed derailleur. So I'll point a few things out while I've got it here. So you've got your pinch bolt there, it's a 5mm hex. You've got your mounting bolt there to the derailleur hanger, to the frame, that's 5mm as well, hex head. Then you've got the B screw down in there. Then below that in there you've got the high screw and then the low screw there. And then your barrel adjuster on the back there. So before we mount the derailleur onto the hanger, I'll just show you what you want to do is make sure that the hanger there is making contact with the lug that's sticking out just there. So that lug there is touching on there. And then before we screw that onto the frame itself, I'll just put a little bit of anti-seize on the thread before we screw it on. So it's 5mm. So when you're screwing it in, you can just look down the back there and making sure, just hold it up level. Make sure it's not cross-threaded or anything. Then start it going in. As you're looking down the back, it'll make contact with the hanger. You can just drop it onto the hanger like that. So it's touching it. Then you can just hold it down and just screw it in all the way. And tighten that up. And you can torque that up to 7Nm for that. So next thing we do after mounting the derailleur onto the bike is we're looking at doing the adjustments. So you want to get on the high screw there, which is the one in there. So that's a 2mm hex head. So if you turn that, if you get on it, make sure you've got one that fits well on there, because you don't want to round that off. So if you get on that, then you're looking at the top guide wheel. So you can pull the case down like that and you can see the guide wheel here. So you're after getting that in line with the smallest on the rear there. So 11 tooth. So you're going to make sure it's dead underneath it, like that. So if you get on that there, if you turn that, make sure you're on it properly. If you turn it one way, you do it over this way, and the opposite way you go over towards that direction. So whichever way you need to go to get yours underneath, directly underneath it. So if you turn it clockwise only slightly, the cage will move over towards the largest effectively on the rear. So you only have to move it a fraction to get it exactly underneath the 11 tooth at the back. So once you've done that and you're happy with that, it's underneath it on the rear, then we move on to the screw just there. So low screw. So when you do that one, what you want to do is make sure you get hold of the derailleur, push it against the hanger, and if you push across like that with your hand on the derailleur and see if it's anywhere near going underneath the largest at the back, whatever you've got on there, 29 or 32, whatever cassette you've got on. So all you do is push it across and see if it's lining up. So I'll just move the camera to show you a bit better. So like I was saying, what you want to do is push over on the derailleur, and as you can see there, it stops under the second largest one in, or even the third one. So it's not underneath the largest one at the back. Yours could be just past the back one, it could be over here towards the spokes too far. So if you get on the low screw there, if you wind it clockwise in, it brings it over that way. then anti-clockwise will put it further over towards the spokes. So if yours is too far over towards the spokes, you want to wind that clockwise, and if it's too far in like it is here under, say, the third one in, as you can see, then you want to wind it anti-clockwise and let it off a bit. So all we'll do is go on there, just let that off, screw off a little bit and try it again. So it's nearly there now, so we'll just let it off a bit more. It's almost, that's almost under there now. So there you go, like that. You can see exactly underneath it, like that. So that's the limit screws adjusted. So your high and your low limit screws adjusted. All they do is all they're doing is where it stops on the smallest cog and where it stops on the largest cog. So the derailleur won't go past there. It's hit the limit, and it's at the limit this end as well. So that's all those two are doing. So now we can move on to the next step. So we've got the cable in and through the barrel adjuster. So what you want to make sure is your barrel adjuster, if you wind it right in and then back it out a turn before you hook the cable up. So if yours has been altered before and you didn't realise, just make sure that it's wound in then, and just wind it back out about a turn. And then before you hook the cable up to your pinch bolt, make sure that you've checked your shifter. So shift down, make sure it's shifted down to the 11 at the back, the smallest one at the back, because if you don't, you'll hook the cable up and you'll wonder why you've only got half the gears. So when you've got your cable through, just put it under your pinch bolt and out, and make sure you're pulling on the cable as hard as you can while you pinch up the bolt. So make sure it's under the plate as well before you pull on it. So pull on that cable. If you can't pull on it enough, what you want to do is just on the end of the very end of the cable, just get a pair of pliers and just hold on to the cable right at the very end like that, and then pull on it while you're using your 5mm and hook up the pinch bolt. So pull on that as tight as you can and then pinch that down. So once we've got that in place, then we're ready to move on to the next step. So now we've put the cable up, what you want to do now is, if you look straight down from above the cassette, and if you see the guide wheel down there, or see if you push on the derailleur like that, it comes up, as you can see it there. So it'd be underneath the 11 at the back, the smallest cog. So then what you do is, you can hold it down there while you're doing this, is if you go up to your shifter and did your shift across as though you was going up the cassette to the largest at the back. So you just shift over, and when you shift like that, then I'll just shift one to show you. Again, if you just got the derailleur like that, you're looking down from above, and then you want it so as the guide wheel here is underneath the second one in. So you click it across and make sure it's underneath it, and then do it again. So you just click across the next one and then just check that it's underneath the third one in. It's a little difficult to show it on camera from here, so like I said, it's difficult to show it, but what you want to do is shift across, and then as you go from the 11 across the cassette, if you find that one of them is slightly out of line when you hold pushing down on it, you can tell, then all you do is, if it's just slightly out, if it's halfway between the two for instance, you just give it a few clicks on your barrel adjuster. So you wind your barrel adjuster anti-clockwise a little bit, a few clicks at a time, and then that tensions up the cable and it'll just make it go dead in line with it instead of being just out. So that's all you've got to do. You don't need the chain on it to set it up. You can set it up just like this, as long as that guide wheel is in line with the appropriate gear on the back all times, then you know when you put the chain on it's going to be, it should be perfect when you put it on. So what I'll do is just click all the way across, and then when you click right across to the largest at the back, so you just click all the way over like that, so just click right across all the way as far as it'll go, and then by doing that you can just check and make sure that now the guide wheel is underneath the largest at the back like that, so it's dead in line with it at the rear, so you know then that limit's set. So the chain, when it goes on there, will be perfectly in line with the largest on the rear, whatever you've got, so you know that's going to work as soon as you put the chain on there. And the same for all the other ones, so just check each individual gear. So now we've got the chain attached on there and riveted together, what we'll do is we'll shift right across to your largest at the rear, so whatever you've got on there, a 29, 32, 34 rear cassette, so we can make the B screw adjustment. So that's the one just there pushing in against your hanger. So what we'll do is just shift over, like I said, to the top there, and then we'll check it. I'll move the camera so I can show you it properly. We'll just shift over. So what I'll do, I'll just show you the guide wheel now quickly so you can see what I'm actually trying to say about the B screw. So as you can see there, there's no room there for the chain to pass through. So I've shifted it across, and as you can see it's contact in there between the largest on the rear there, the cassette, and the guide wheel. There's no gap. It should come off there clean with a gap big enough for the chain to pass through. So what you need to do is, the 2mm hex head, is adjust your B screw, which is the one just in the back, just in here. So if you get on that one, then if you turn it, we need to increase the gap there. So what we do, we turn it clockwise, and as you can see there, the gap's increasing, so you need it so as the chain's coming off there smoothly like that, it's not getting interfered with, because the gap there is important, because when you shift down to your 11 on the rear there, the smallest cog, you need a gap there so as the chain, the guide wheel and the chain aren't interfering there with one another as it's coming off of the 11 tooth. So when you set the gap there, it'll also increase the gap distance there, so the chain's passing through cleanly off the guide wheel on there. So say it's just got to be coming off there at a nice angle, not interfering with the teeth of the guide wheel at all, with the teeth on the cassette. So once you've done the B screw adjustment, you can just shift up and down your cassette a few times, make sure you're happy with all the gears. If you've got one that's slightly out, like I said before, you might have one that's not quite right. If you have, then just go to your barrel adjuster and give it a few clicks just to iron out, just stay on that one gear and just smooth it out, and then check all the other ones again, make sure you're happy with them. And then what you can do after you've done all that is just finally torque up your cable pinch bolt. It's 5 Newton meters on that, just to check it before you go ahead and snip your cable off and crimp on a stop on the end. once you've done that, that's the installation all complete. So I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, remember to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more cycle related content. Till next one, ride safe and I'll see you then.